Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Clutch Chalk podcast /YouTube/We Do It All. As always, I'm your host, John. Very happy to be here. My brother, Jay, he's over there in the six. How you doing, my brother?
Back at it again. Oh my gosh, we back at it again. Yeah, but I'm feeling good. Living better. Excited for the matchups tonight as we speak. Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics. No, you got the Lakers and Timberwolves going at it tonight. But other than that, man, other than basketball, I'm doing fine. It's the weekend here as we're recording, Jay. But how you feeling? How you doing?
Feeling good, Jay. Just like how Drake says, feeling good, living better. It's whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? My city love me like Mac Dre in the Bay. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out the Bay though.
Shout out the Bay, definitely. But it's good to see. It's good to see you, my brother. I'm also happy it's the weekend, Friday, October 28th, for anybody out there that is keeping track. And you already know what it is, man. Another episode, another fire debates, fire segments. We're going to be, recapping some games later on. We're going to be talking about some news around the league. We've got some overrated, underrated segment. So a lot jam-packed episode. So if you're out there at home, man, make sure if you're on YouTube, you smash that subscribe button, leave a nice comment down below. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of our podcast lovers, man, make sure you leave a nice ranking and leave a nice little comment down below as well, man. But for all that's out the way, Jay, you ready to get into this some of this NBA talk, Jay?
Yeah.
All right, Jay. I like that. Let's
go.
Let's do it, Jay. So we're gonna kick it off with some spicy, Jay. I'm talking about the tea, Jay. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be in the rumor mill like ESPN is with this first story, Jay, and that's Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns said something that was kind of questionable, Jay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and play it for the family out there and for you, my brother. Let me know your thoughts. I'm just gonna go ahead and run this right here of Karl Anthony Towns. This is a post-game interview.
Ant was just telling us that he puts a lot of this on him and he's got to be better in back-to-backs, that he has not done that so far. Can you help him through that, or just is that a young player trying to figure out what to do in this league and how to answer the bell 2 nights in a row?
Maybe I could do a better job of teaching him how to take care of his body, diet and everything. So that'll be on me. I know y'all think it's funny up here when he talks about Popeyes and all that shit. That doesn't make me happy to hear. We're high level athletes. So
initial thoughts, let me know, Jay. What are you thinking from those comments?
It's interesting. I never like to read too much into these type of comments, but number one, we got to look at who the Timberwolves are right now. There's this team who traded a lot of assets, who traded a lot of picks for, a defensive player, 2-time defensive player of the year, and Rudy Gobert. So obviously a management thinks they're going to be a better team, a better regular season team. They're going to be definitely a team who's going to compete for a high seed in the playoff team. And they've been struggling. Significantly. I mean, you look at their losses, they've lost to the Jazz. They've lost to a lot of lesser opponents as we would have teams, ranking wise. Obviously any team night to night can beat anyone in the NBA, but this is a team who's struggling, and their leader, a guy who's, multiple time All-Star, is Karl Anthony Towns. But, he's never really been, a quote unquote leader, right? Like, guys haven't really, from what we heard, we're not in the locker room. This is just what we hear. Kind of, you can read body language on the floor, right? And I don't look at Cat as a guy who's been a leader, right? At this point in his career, he's 8 years into his career. I don't really see him don't think guys recognize him as a leader, right? And for him to make those comments, I don't know. It's a little fishy. It's a little odd, right? It's already a team who's struggling. It's already a team who's kind of pointing the finger each other ways, because there's a reason. There's no reason why you should be losing. They've got some guys out. They've got some bench players out, but not enough, Kyle Anderson, Austin Rivers, but it's not enough to where I think they should be losing games at this point. So it's a little concerning, especially the fact you're professional athletes, but telling a guy how to, manage his body and how he eats, a little questionable, Jay. That's all I'll say. But how you feeling about this comments?
Yeah, Jay.
I like to see it this early on in the season, man. But
yeah, I don't really like to see it either. Yeah, that was the first thought that I had was like, man, I mean, I get it, you guys are professional athletes, but you're your own man. He's his own man. Like, he's gonna make his own life decisions. Like, what are you talking about sitting over here trying to tell somebody else, how to eat? But what I think, like, one of the things that I thought when I first saw this was just like the question had nothing to do with Anthony Edwards' diet. Like, if you really think about it, that came out of left field. Like, when I was first watching his video, I was like, well, where did I understand, you're talking about, Anthony Edwards, wants to take it serious, wants to take it to the next level. But like, there's so many things that you can also talk about that prevents you from taking it to the next level rather than just diet. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of other things that not only Karl Anthony Towns was doing when he was a youngin, but Ant is doing that is preventing him, from going on to that next level. I do love how you talked about, their slow start. I think that definitely has a bit to do with it. But I also think, Jay, has a little bit to do with the fact that Karl Anthony Towns is recognizing that, bro, I'm not going to be that guy. Like, Anthony Edwards is going to be that guy. And I'm not, maybe this is me, reading into it a little bit too much, but I don't know. Maybe he's trying to make Anthony Edwards not look as good because Karl Anthony Towns he wants to be that guy in Minnesota. Maybe that might be a stretch on my end, but I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, that came out of left field, man. That was completely uncalled for, calling somebody else out, and especially like you're supposed to be the OG on the team. You've been on the league for a couple of years now. So, as an OG, you're not supposed to be ratting out your youngins to the world, so big issue with me for that.
Facts. If not already, Anthony Edwards is going to be Minnesota. I've been saying that was going to be the case since last year. We saw how Anthony Edwards was playing, what he was doing, how he facilitates and kind of just steps up as, the alpha of the team, right? I think at this point in his career, like I said, I was saying earlier, he's 8 years into his career. Who he is now, who he's always been in his career, we're not going to see a different, just all of a sudden this late into your career. You're not going to flip a switch and be a different player and who you've always been. So at this point, and what we've seen early from Anthony Edwards in his career, he has that step up dog alpha mentality, if you will. We often societal wise overuse the word alpha, but in this context, I believe Anthony Edwards fits that mold, right? He has that take charge mentality. He has that I want to be the one mentality. And maybe, like you said, Cat is starting to see that. So could be kind of just a little saltiness, but I kind of have the vibe now, and I'm getting the sense, and we're going to see this early on. If this ship continues to sail in the wrong direction, Minnesota could be in a situation where they just flip the script and say, we're going to build around Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, because they already traded enough assets. So my thinking is Cat could be out the door. D'Angelo Russell, you get some other assets to build around Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, and we could see a different look Timberwolves if this proves it hasn't worked out. Because so far that's been what it has been. Timberwolves, that 2-man big lineup. You thought they'd be a 9 seed originally. It hasn't been working out. We're going to see if they can try to get back on the rails against a struggling Laker team tonight. But I mean, both of these teams are trying to get their footing right now. So I'm interested to see that matchup, Jay. But weird comment, weird, like you said, context. So
yeah, that was definitely iffy coming from a teammate, man. But we gotta keep an eye on Minnesota over there, Jay. But let's go ahead and keep it pushing, and let's stay along in the rumor mill. We're gonna start talking about drama land, and that's over there in Brooklyn. The Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to show you a video, Jay, that just surfaced. Kyrie Irving had some words for Ben Simmons. So we'll talk after the video.
Go in transition, but listen to what Kyrie Irving says to Ben Simmons.
Shoot it, Ben!
Shoot it, Ben. So Simmons immediately passes out of the paint instead of looking for a shot. Here's what Kyrie Irving had to say after the game.
If we're going to come in and be honest as a team, I'm not trying to just be critical over what Ben's done right or done wrong every single night. He has the skills to be a great professional. He's done it in the past, and he hasn't played in 2 years. So you guys keep coming in here asking me, like, what about Ben? What about Ben? And it's just, he hasn't played in 2 years. Give him a chance. You know what I mean? We stay on his. We're just here to give him positive affirmations while he's out there and just let him hoop. You know, we want Ben to be, aggressive every single play, and we want him to get assists every single play. We want him to rebound. We want him to play against the best player. We want him to do all the things that, we know he's capable of. But at this time, he's going to have to work himself into his own confidence and feel good about himself. And I'm not going to say I'm being patient or humble about it, but the reality is that we're just going to keep having to try this experiment every single night until we get the right recipe.
Jay, my brother, let me know, what are you feeling? Did you hear that? Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into that. What Kyrie said is completely true. You know, media tries to get a rise, tries to get, a negative reaction or something out of these guys consistently. I feel like that's something that it's their job. Obviously, they're trying to get snippets, they're trying to get quotes, and it's no question, there's no hidden secret. There's no lies of, Ben Simmons hasn't played basketball in over almost 2 years or something. A year, didn't play for the whole season last year, and he's trying to get his footing. He's with a brand new team. He's never played with Kevin Durant. He's never played with Kyrie Irving. They're unicorns in their own light, like two of the best shot makers in the NBA. And he's also trying to get his rhythm back, try to get, his confidence back and all of that. So it's one of those things where, you look at Ben Simmons, you look at Kyrie Irving, you look at Kevin Durant, and those are three completely different people, three completely different, players. And what Kyrie's saying is, very true, right? One of the things that stuck out to me was that Kyrie said that, we're trying to find the right recipe. And that's exactly what Brooklyn is trying to do, as are a lot of teams. Even could be the same could be said for Minnesota, where they're going to struggle with continuity. They're going to struggle early in the season. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Brooklyn. And I really don't have an issue or have question with whatever Kyrie said about Ben.
Yeah.
How you feeling? Like, I don't.
I'm feeling like, honestly with you, post game, like I don't really have any issues with anything that he said post game. I do think it's something to note about the fact that Kyrie Irving he's probably hanging out with Ben Simmons more than really anybody right now at this point. He's on his team, and he came out and told the world, like, and I don't know if everyone caught that, but he said he's going to have to get his confidence back and all this back, which I guess we as fans knew, but I mean, deep down inside, at least me personally, I thought, well, like, Ben Simmons is an NBA player, man. He's got at least some amount of confidence. So to really, hear Kyrie Irving say that means that Kyrie's seeing Ben on the day-to-day, and he's seeing that his confidence isn't there. I think that's a big thing. And I mean, that's just like, he's just scared to shoot right now. But what I have the issue with is really what Kyrie said, like in the game when he turned around and, gave Ben Simmons the ball and he's like, shoot it, Ben. In this, I know it's just in the moment, sometimes people even say or do things in the heat of the moment that they don't mean, but I just think that, like, that shoot it, Ben, and Jay, you were going to relate to me on this. So, like, as basketball players, when you're playing with somebody who, like, you keep giving them the ball for a layup and they keep dribbling back out and going to the three, like that, like that's the situation I feel that's going on. And Ben Simmons is scared to shoot. And this is happening in practice and games, and Kyrie Irving and all other Nets players, they have noticed this, that they've noticing this. So I think that Kyrie right there just got frustrated right there and gave him the ball. It was like, shoot it, it was just telling him, like, bro, shoot the dang ball, because like, you need to shoot. This is terrible. And I mean, that stat under the screen, right when Kyrie Irving was talking, he says that Ben Simmons, throughout the 5 games that the Nets have played, he has 21 points and he shot the ball 20 times. Like, there's no way that Ben Simmons, as a starter on that Nets team, with the attention that KD and Kyrie are getting, should only have shot the ball 20 times within a span of 5 games. Out of those 5 games, Ben Simmons has fouled out of 2. and when you look at the breakdown in shots per minute, Ben Simmons is taking the least amount of shots on that entire Nets roster. Not just in general, because there's some players who get like a minute a game, but I'm saying shots per minute. Ben Simmons is taking the least amount of shots on the entire Nets roster. Just like how I said, I think the man is just scared to be judged. He's scared to shoot the ball, whether make, miss, layup, three, free throw. Like, he's just scared to do it. And another issue that I have, Jay, is when Ben Simmons brings the ball up court, I'm seeing at times Ben Simmons is still bringing the ball up court for whatever reason. And I don't understand. And I actually have a little clip here to show. I asked to, like, when Ben Simmons brings the ball up court, it literally just kills the Nets offense. Like, they don't have any options as to what to do when Ben Simmons is bringing the ball up court after a defense has been set. So I'm going to roll this clip right here, Jay, and we can just talk about it a little bit.
And you don't have a threat at the initial action up the floor, and everybody defensively knows it. To me, this is just wasted time. And as long as they continue to insist that this is your point guard, it is going to continue to be talked about by us, because it's not about.
And that's exactly what I wanted to show right there, Jay. I don't know if you heard right there what Tim Legner was talking about. And this is really what I've been talking about since 2016. When you have a player like Ben Simmons on the court, it just takes away, especially when Ben Simmons is running your point guard, it takes away so many other options for all other four players on the court. When it literally becomes a 4-on-5 if the defense is set up. And when you run the pick and rolls, like right there, how Tim Legner was talking about, when he's bringing the ball up court, if he's walking the ball up court, if he's doing anything besides on the transition going downhill, Ben Simmons is just useless, because as a defense, you're just going to give him that LeBron treatment that he gave a couple of years ago, where he literally just turns his back towards you and stays in the paint. And you're just going to double the roll man, or you're going to go double a KD, or you're going to go double a Kyrie. So it kills any fluidity. It kills anything that the Nets want to have going positively on offense, man. So honestly, Jay, I just, again, and he's here getting on Ben Simmons. I don't even think he's an NBA player at this level. I don't believe he should be on the NBA team. And I guarantee to you, I do know, Jay, that you and Garrett were a little thrown back at the fact that I had him in the 9th seed. I still got him at the 9th seed. And I promise you, they will do nothing this year as long as Ben Simmons is on that team. If Ben Simmons is on that team will go nowhere.
Jay, I think you're going a little far to saying they won't go anywhere. And here's what I say. The only thing that Ben Simmons do, he can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot. He can't really shoot. He can defend. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot. Sorry, he cannot shoot, but he can defend. I don't know why I keep saying he can shoot, because he definitely can't. But his game and what he does, his skill set is so unique and similar to one player, and that player is Draymond Green. He won't ever be the shooter that Draymond Green is, but it's similar. The way he can impact the game defensively, he might not be he doesn't have the prowess that he has off ball, but he can develop that. He's still young. I don't know if he has the motor that Draymond Green has, but he has similar characteristics, and he's even bigger than him. He can develop in that player, and all he has to do, the simple fix that he has to change, I don't think he'll ever develop into a three-point shooter, but when he's attacking downhill, if he looks at the basket, he starts using the floater, which we saw a little bit against Dallas, where he was a little more aggressive offensively. He could have been more aggressive offensively, but we saw shells of that, Jay. But saying he shouldn't be the NBA player, I have to pull back. That's absurd. He's definitely skilled enough. He's defensively as a passer, as a playmaker to be in the NBA. So I have to push back. I don't agree with you on that. But I will say that all he has to do is be a threat offensively. And when the Brooklyn Nets get back Seth Curry, when Joe Harris is fully healthy, they have enough shooters and enough talent to around him, where if he's a threat going downhill and he actually looks to lay the ball or dunk the ball in the rim, the Nets are going to be just fine. So I still don't agree with you on that he's not an NBA player, because he's definitely an NBA player, and that the Nets will be 9th. When they get it all together, they start having that continuity and figuring out guys' roles, the Nets will be just fine. with that talent.
I just can't see it, Jay. I just can't see it because even if I agree, if Ben Simmons is going downhill, if he's looking for that floater, yes, he's a threat. But the game isn't played downhill 95% of the time. 95% of the time, somebody's getting a bucket and the defense is set on the other end. So that means that Ben Simmons is bringing the ball down court with the defense that's already set up. So that's why I'm saying. And then even if you move him to that 4 or 5 position, okay, he's going to be the roll man. Still, you can, if he fades for any reason on the roll, man, you could just forget about him. And again, you're right back to that 4-on-5 scenario. I mean, Ben Simmons, yes, I'll give it to you. He's a good defender, but he's not the defender that I think people give him. People are remembering him from Philly. In Philly, when he was young, when for whatever reason he was still feeling it, yeah, he was a good on-ball defender. I know Luka is a once-in-a-generational, might be the greatest player right now, but Luka torched him. Ben Simmons could do anything.
Jay, I will say this. As it's currently constructed in their offense of having him bring the ball up, I don't think that the Nets will be successful. But the only switch that Steve Nash needs to make is moving him to a screening position where he's not even, or he's in the dunker spot. He's either in a screening position or he's in the dunker spot. He's rolling and he's in a similar position where he's making those decisions that Draymond makes at the high post, where he's either looking for a cutter, he's attacking downhill and getting that way, and then he has shooters surrounding him so he can drive, kick, but that's where he has to be. Like, to your point, he has to be looking to score first, and then the defense will respect that. They have to crash, and then he's got shooters all around them. He's surrounded by shooters. Fully healthy, Brooklyn has the shooters to compete with Ben Simmons on the floor, but I don't think, like you said, as if they're going to continue, and Tim Legler said it to himself, if they have him at the point guard role, defenses aren't going to respect him when he's dribbling the ball up the board. But its simple fix is putting him as a screener, having him catch it at the high post, and making those reads off of that, because he has the basketball IQ to make those reads. He just has to look to be aggressive and score first, and then the defense will open up and he'll have options that way.
Jay, I'm gonna clip this and just send this to Steve Nash real quick. I'm gonna be like, here you go.
Steve Nash is on a hot seat, man.
Steve Nash has been on a hot seat.
He's on a hot seat, yeah.
Steve Nash is on a hot seat. But yeah, Jay. We'll go ahead and wrap up this Ben Simmons, segment or whatever. But Ben Simmons, I just am irate with him. Been irate with him since the second he got drafted. I can't believe he was a number 1 overall pick. I really cannot believe that.
Yeah.
But okay. All right, Jay, let's go ahead and keep it pushing, Jay. Let's get to our next segment here. And that is our overrated or underrated segment. I got a good amount of players here pulled up, Jay. I'm going to say their name. And if, for the family on YouTube, you will, see their, face and the player right there. So, the perks of being on YouTube, But Jay, I'm going to basically read these players off, and I want you to tell me, are they overrated or are they underrated? And, maybe a reason or two as to why you think that.
Yep.
All right, Jay, let's go ahead and get into it. The first player that we have here is RJ Barrett.
RJ Barrett, if we look at his contract, he's got to be overrated. And I it's tough saying a player is overrated, but I'm just looking at based off what he's paid and what he's producing, right? You look at his stats, and I'm just going to look statistically. He's 17 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists per game with a true shooting percentage of 44%. And I look, he's got to have the itty bitty bag, the smallest bag in the league, right? This dude predicated on getting downhill, but it seems like he just has no moves and no creativity going downhill. It's just really, really honestly hard to watch. Since he's come into the NBA, I don't really truly believe he's improved his shooting to the point he's a high volume shooter, high volume scorer, right? He's scoring 20 points, close to 20 points per game. That's what he scored last year, but on high volume, right? I think for the amount of shots, the usage that he gets, almost anyone, any person in the league, I'm not gonna say anyone in the NBA because that might be a little disrespectful to RJ because he is talented, but for his price point, what he's getting paid in his role, I think he's overrated, man. especially being the third pick in the NBA draft a couple years ago. I would say he's overrated, man. And the praise that he gets and the love that Thibodeau gives him, Jay. But how are you feeling about RJ? Overrated, underrated?
Yeah, Jay, I'm feeling right there. Overrated. I think that little run that the Knicks had, I believe, the year before last, just kind of had, hyped up a little bit of the Knicks fans when Julius Randle went down and RJ Barrett picked it up. But he didn't do that for a full season, though. So I think that people just are kind of placed him in that, like he did that for a full season type thing.
Facts. And one thing I forgot to mention, when I watch him play, when I actually sit down and watch RJ Barrett play, I don't think he has a high motor. I don't like the amount of intensity that he plays with. I think he's lacking in that department. Even when I look with his size, his frame, and his athletic ability, he should be a much better defender than he is. And I think a lot of that, the reason for that is he's not giving that effort on the defensive end. He's saving it for some reason on the offensive end, and he's not even scoring. He's not even producing at a high rate, a true shooting percentage that's so low, right? And he's not giving that effort. Similar to a guy like, I don't know if it's the fit, I don't know if it's setting, I don't know if it's an organization. I'm not going to put him on the same level as Andrew Wiggins, but he's certainly underperforming to that level of an early in his career Andrew Wiggins, right? And it might be New York, might be the Knicks organization, coaching, I don't know, but he's truly been disappointing this far in his career, and I would call him overrated.
Yeah, Jay, right there with you, my brother. Next player we got here is this one is going to be good, Jay. DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray. I would say he's a little underrated, man.
Wow.
I would say he's a little underrated.
Okay.
For the lines he was putting up, right? We're talking about a guy, DeJounte Murray. Yeah, sneakily, averaging last season with the Spurs, 21 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds a game, 68 games, courtesy of StatMuse. And he was selected, although be a fill-in for Draymond Green, to his first All-Star game. This guy is serious, a true defensive threat. He's proved this season that he can play off ball, he can play on ball, and that when I'm saying that, alongside a ball dominant guard in Trae Young, he's showing off his defensive versatility. So I really love how DeJounte Murray can change the game in a lot of ways, and I think he's overlooked. We're going to be seeing a little bit more of him in Atlanta. They're not nationally televised that much, but we'll definitely be seeing him more than when we saw him with the Spurs. And I think he's going to only continue to improve here. So I'd say he's a little underrated if we look at a large scale and what he can bring to a team and a team's success, right? Because he plays hard, he plays with the motor, he can create, and he's become a better shooter each year in his career too. Okay. Jay, how do you feel? How are you feeling about DJ Murray?
Honestly, Jay, I feel like DJ Murray is like one of those players. So I think right now it's like perfectly rated. I think it's he's not. I wanted to go with.
Nah, you can't ride the fence. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a. Come on, hey, hold up. I didn't know there was there's a perfectly rated. You're asking me if the player's underrated or overrated, and I had no choice but to say he's underrated because I'm not going to say DeJounte Murray's overrated. Come on, Jay.
You crack me up, my brother. You crack me up. Are you right, Jay? I can't ride the fence. So if I can't ride the fence, then I'm definitely not going underrated, Jay. I can't go underrated. He just got an all-star selection.
Wow.
I understand that it is because of a fill-in, but he just got an all-star selection, man. Honestly, I don't think he's.
You don't think he was deserving though?
No, Jay.
Did you not hear the stats I just wrote off?
I heard what you said, Jay. It was impressive.
Man, he was averaging a damn near triple double.
It was impressive, but he was losing on the Spurs.
But I mean, who was he playing with?
Okay, but I mean, I'm not taking no loser in my all-star book, Jay. That's all I'm saying, Jay. I'm not taking no loser.
But that makes him overrated?
To the point where he's getting all-star selections?
We got to pull up the all-star list then, because there were some guys who were losing on that team.
There were some. Okay, let's pull up the all-star from
pull
last year.
Yeah, we got to pull it up. Definitely some losers on that list.
Let's see, Jay. Let's see.
teams that are losing, not full on losers. Players that are
just
on losing teams. Let me rephrase that. Yeah. Well, I guess he was the worst player, like on the worst team.
He was.
But I still couldn't I can't put that against him because the organization is clearly not looking to win now, right? I mean, I'm not going to hold that against him.
Okay.
And when we talk about players who are, up there and constantly mentioned, he's not one of those guys that I would say, DeJounte Murray, he's constantly mentioned. He's constantly mentioned as one of the best two-way point guards in the NBA. He's not in that conversation. And I think he should be, right? Even best perimeter defenders, he should be in that conversation, but he's not. So that's why I have to add on to the fact he's underrated.
Okay, Jay. Honestly, I mean, yeah. I mean, he did his thing. He did his thing, Jay. You might have got me on this. So he's doing his thing, but I don't know, man. I still don't know if I could have him as an all-star, man. Just can't be. I need a winner. But all right, Jay. Let me move on to this next. This next one's a good one, Jay. I struggled with this one, but then I ultimately went with underrated. But the next player, Jay, is Steven Adams.
Steven Adams, man. I would say underrated because of what he brings to a team. He's never gonna be. When I mention the statistics for DeJounte Murray, he's not gonna. Steven Adams isn't a guy who's gonna fill up the stat sheet, but he's gonna make winning plays. He's gonna make those 50-50 ball plays. He's gonna set good screens. He's gonna make some hard fouls. He's gonna change the game in different ways, right? He's gonna contest shots at the rim. But yeah, he just does all those little things that make you an underrated player, make you underrated to the value of your team. So I'm agree. That's actually a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Okay.
You struggle with that? I think that's easy. No, underrated.
Okay, I like that, Jay.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because I mean, if you look at his numbers, you could, if you're not watching the games, you could think like, man, Steven Adams sucks. But yeah, he does do the things, little nitty gritty things that will make you underrated. But all right, Jay, a big time player right here, Jay, James Harden.
Ooh. For what he played like last year, I'll say overrated, man. Mm-hmm. For all the attention and wanting out of Brooklyn, making a big fuss there, wanting out of Houston. He's had an okay start, but I mean, this team's not winning, right? The Philadelphia 76ers are struggling. They haven't won games as we record here on the 28th of October, right? Before these 7:00 games, the Philadelphia 76ers have been struggling up until this point, right? They're looking to win a game in Toronto after a back-to-back against them, but I just don't think, and I'll say it throughout his career, I think he's been overrated, honestly. He's produced stats. He's always going to put up the best stats, but is he making plays, winning plays in the right moments for his team in the playoffs? Is he coming up and big in a game 7? He hasn't. We're yet to see him do it. So until then, Mr. Harden's overrated to me.
Yeah, Jay, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, I think it was overrated to put him when they put him on the top 75 list. Like that's what I think he's been overrated. I think really since his Houston days. Which, don't get me wrong, like part of playing basketball is playing the game and bending the rules, and that's kind of what he was doing. But I don't think that makes him top 75 player or neither all the love and the respect that he gets. So I'm definitely right there with you. From what we've seen of James Harden, he's definitely overrated. But all right, Jay, next player. This one, we got this player and one more. DeAndre Ayton.
I'll say overrated. For what he gets paid and what he does and what he could be. Honestly, he has all the tools. He has everything to be successful, but I don't know if it's the system holding back or what in Phoenix. He doesn't get it done for me. Similar to a guy like we just talked about Steven Adams and what he does. DeAndre Ayton could be so damn dominant every single game, and he just doesn't get it done. There's games that he could take over. I don't know. Obviously, he's a big man. He's not bringing the ball up the court. But is there times where he could dominate? He could bully his matchup. He could win his matchup. He could be the more physical guy. He could change more shots. He could block more shots. He could be more of a defensive presence. Absolutely. And DeAndre Ayton doesn't do that all the time. He doesn't. He's consistent. Sometimes he looks like the best player on the floor at times. And then other times you forget he's even there. And for a first pick, guy who just earned a big contract, that's overrated for me, man. That's over. I'm gonna say right now. I'll say overrated.
Wow, Jay, that's crazy. That's crazy.
A guy who couldn't even play, who couldn't even be on the floor in a Game 7 elimination game of the Western Conference semifinals.
Wow, Jay. Look, Jay, I know you're a Warriors fan, Jay, but I don't know if I could go with DeAndre Ayton as a overrated, Jay. I mean, the man last year averaged a double-double. Every year he's been in the league, he's averaged a double-double. I do know that like he hasn't been the most consistently there, but every time he's been there, I mean, averaging a double-double, 10 plus rebounds, 14 and the lowest points he scored, I believe, was
stats don't matter though, Jay. It's not all about stats. It's not all about stats. But then you've even said it yourself before.
Yes, I agree. It's not all about stats, but it's not like he doesn't do it on the court. We just saw it against the Warriors. Like he dominated the Warriors. He used his big presence. He went inside. He killed the glass. Like he can do these things. I agree. It's not about numbers.
He doesn't do it consistently though. He does not do it consistently. That's what I just said. There's times, yes, the Warriors game, he did take over the game, but he doesn't do that consistently. That's what I just said. In Game 7, he couldn't even be on the floor. He got played off the floor in that Dallas series. He got played off the floor
every year
by Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell.
Every year
he got played off the floor.
The Suns choked in general. The Suns choked. Every
year,
I
mean, they're regular season team, so
I agree. Every year since DeAndre Ayton has been in the league, Jay, he's averaged 10 or more rebounds or 14 or more points every year. How is that not consistent? I understand he's not there.
It's consistent, but I'm saying for what he's paid and what he brings you night to night, I can't say I say he's overrated.
Okay.
He can bring out stats, but I'm judging off what I see on the floor, similar to what I see from Steven Adams on the floor. That's why I said he's overrated. Yes, he has great stats. It looks all pretty, this and that. So does Russell Westbrook. Even last season, he had great stats. You know, for compared to what his season, he averaged what, close to a triple-double? Doesn't matter. We know what he is to the Lakers, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. If we're making it, maybe not on the same scale, I'm not comparing DeAndre Ayton, what he does for the Suns, to Russell Westbrook and the Lakers. But what I'm saying is you can make stats fit any narrative, but I'm saying on the floor, the proof is in the pudding. DeAndre Ayton doesn't get it done night to night consistently when he has all the tools to do so.
That's crazy, Jay. I mean, I understand, where that perspective is coming from. I would have to disagree with this one. I mean, he was the reason the Suns were, big time in that championship run, the 2 years that they were in, because was the only big that could really stretch the floor. But I feel you though, Jay. And that's for all the family out there. Let us know, is DeAndre Ayton overrated, underrated, for all these players that we listed off, overrated or underrated? Because that was a good one. Jay, this last one, I have to ask you this one. I was like, oh, I know Jay's going. He's gonna like this one. OG Anunoby, overrated or underrated? That's a tough one, Jay.
Ooh, overrated, underrated. Ooh. I'll say underrated simply for the fact that when we talk about perimeter defenders and two-way guys, he's not mentioned up there, and he really is. He could get it done both defensively and offensively to a certain extent. He has been limited, but I think that's more so this year. We're seeing he's been limited in his shot attempts. his usage, but it's simply the guys he has around him. He has Pascal Siakam, who's developing, continued to improve. Fred VanVleet, who, one of the better guards, top 10 guard in the NBA, top 10 point guards in the NBA. And then also Gary Trent Jr., who's a high volume scorer. He puts them up. Scotty Barnes, who's coming into his own, missed some time here early in the season, but he's a high usage guy as well. So he's playing with a lineup and arguably is a third or fourth option. But when we talk about best perimeter defenders, I think he's up there with them. He's guarding everybody's best players for the most part, best perimeter players. And he's not mentioned in that conversation and I think he should be more so. But stats aside, what he does on the defensive end and what he can give you offensively, I'm going to go underrated. And he should be in that two-way conversation up there in the best of the league, right? In my opinion, Jay. But what do you feel?
Yeah, Jay, I'm right there with you. I'm a big OG Anunoby guy. I think he's really a star in his role. And if you look at being a star in your role, what is that? Another way, it's another way to say underrated. So he really stars in that guarding the other team's best player. Hustling, being that nitty gritty player. But it's not like he's a Ben Simmons offensively. Like he can get it done offensively as well. So yeah, I'm definitely right there with you, Jay, as far as one of those one of the best two-way players in the league. So shout out OG Anunoby. That was a great one. But all right, my brother, now we're going to get into these games, recapping these games that we have for the week. Let me go ahead and kick it off with the game that actually on our last episode, we said this is the game we were looking forward to. We said Sparks was going to fly, and boy, did it fly. The Suns beat the Warriors 134-105 on Tuesday, the 25th. Man, Jay, this was one of those intense games. I felt like this was one of those deep playoff games, the way the fans were in it, the way the players were in it, coaches, people getting ejections, technicals all over the place. I mean, this game started with the Suns. They started on fire, man. They scored 37 points in that first quarter. They were getting a lot of defensive stops. We just talked about, DeAndre Ayton really, using his big man presence. And it was clear that the Suns were targeting that early in the game. They ended up finishing, the Suns ended up finishing with 62 points in the paint, and DeAndre Ayton was definitely like a big reason of that. And then also, Jay, like not as much as far as like on the game, like just I still see that it factor with the Suns, man. Because I'll be honest, like when I watch the Suns, sometimes I'm being like, man, I don't know if I still see it, but this last game that I still saw that it factor, man. Like they still have that elite defense, whether it be on the low block or on the high perimeter. They can still shoot the lights out. They still got, their 1 through 15 with real production. Like that was a thing that we often talk about the Suns, how they all produce. So that was huge. That's just one thing I wanted to talk about on the Sun side of things. On the Warriors, man, that second quarter, Jordan Poole came out on fire, and the Warriors didn't have the greatest first quarter, but then Jordan Poole led him to have a great second quarter, 37 points. And then also Draymond Green. Now, this is why I'm actually happy that you mentioned Ben Simmons earlier, Jay, because like this is what Ben Simmons should, strive to be like. Draymond Green is not a great offensive player, yet he scored 14 points and shot 70% from the field. He was 7 of 10. He shot 10 shots and made 7. I just think that for a role player, for someone who you don't expect 0 buckets to come from, you're just expecting leadership and defense. For them to give you that is amazing. And that is because Draymond Green's actually looking to score. He's looking to get a bucket. Like how you mentioned earlier. That's what Ben Simmons should do. Just even look that direction, and you'll at least keep the defense guessing on their feet. But then Jay, then came that third quarter, and I'll say this: look, like if you just look at the score, it could be like, man, the Warriors, got blown out, had a bad game. Like, no, this was a good game. The Warriors had a good game, really up until that third, like up in the midway to that third. The Suns really got under Klay Thompson's skin, and he got pissed. Like he just was livid. Like I don't even see Klay. I've never even seen Klay that mad. I was actually Klay's first career ejection. So the Suns really got Klay out of his element, just pissed off for whatever reason. I wonder what was said. And then after that, I mean, the Suns ended up going on an 11-0 run, and it just seemed like the life was just kind of taken out of the Warriors after that Klay Thompson ejection. And then the Suns ended up running away with it, man. But good game. Did not expect to see a game this intense 4 or 5 games into the season, but definitely like that game. But Jay, how'd you feel about that game?
Yeah. Well, as they always do it, the regular season champ, Phoenix Suns coming out hot, ready to go. And it wasn't a surprise. Like the Phoenix Suns, to their credit, a lot of people, not us actually, we had them higher ranked on our early season projections because they are. I just believe this team is built for the regular season. They have such a deep roster in terms of how they're built and what players do well. But they came out ready. You could tell they were motivated. This is a team who got bounced early to their standards. They expected this to be the matchup, as did all of us expected this to be the Western Conference Finals last year, and we didn't get that because they didn't fulfill their end of the bargain. But I just think the Suns are, the Suns came out ready. They had everything. They got something to prove. And the Warriors on their end, I think they came out sluggish. They came out not really caring because ultimately the Warriors this season don't really have they have nothing to prove. They're the champions. They took care of business last year. They won the NBA title. And for the Suns, this was their title. They had to come in ready to prove something. And they certainly did. They came out with passion and presence. But on the other Warriors side of things, they don't really care. I mean, they're working in the young guys. They saw they were experimenting with rotations during the game. We saw Kuminga, we saw Ty Jerome, we saw all these guys that if this was a playoff game, if this was the game they have to win, Steve Kerr's not going that deep into his bench. But why I thought the Warriors would be a 3rd seed in the regular season, because they're trying to integrate these young guys early on in the season, and that's what it's about for them. They have nothing to prove. They're the NBA champions. But to the Suns' credit, they came in, took care of business, and they punched the Warriors in the mouth. Shout out Jack Landale, the Australian. He had a good game, but the Suns proved that this mattered to them, the regular season champs. The Warriors didn't come in ready to play, and they got beat. And on Clay's end, I will speak on that, Jay. In that situation, he wasn't having a good night. And I think it's going to be one of those dynamics that we were saying, like that big brother, little brother kind of thing with Devin Booker. I don't know what Devin Booker said, but he certainly got under Clay's skin. And I think we're going to start seeing a trend where Clay might be in situation where he was usually dominating, right? Guys where he's sunned them his whole career, but they're starting to, get the best of him, right? Because he's getting older. He's had 2 of the worst injuries you can get as a professional athlete. And it might be a little hard for him to swallow, but he'll get his legs back eventually. But right now it's going to be hard for him to swallow. But also Devin Booker, you got no rings though, man. I will say that it's 4-0 right now. It's 4-0 right now.
That's the Warrior side of Jay coming out. Jay had a.
We got it. But to Devin Booker's credit, I will say on the flip side, he acknowledged that after he said that the Warriors are a team that they strive to be. They understand they're the champions. He's got mad respect for Klay Thompson. So shout out to Devin Booker coming in the post game interview. And saying that was big respect. And at the end of the day, those are 2 competitors. When you step on the floor, it's all about who the best man win. And that's what we saw out there, man.
Yeah, Jay.
That's all I got to say about that game, Jay.
It's all about winning at the end of the day, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jay, definitely a great game. Only thing that I would have to push back on, Jay, is I can't, Jay. There's no way that the Warriors didn't care about winning. This is a regular season. There's maybe it wasn't as big as to the Suns, but there's no way that they were eating Jack in the Box prior to the game and coming into it nonchalantly.
Relative to the Suns, obviously they care about winning their competitors, but I'm saying relative to the Suns and what the Suns wanted to prove, there's a different level of competition coming in. Obviously, when Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, the rest of those core guys step on the floor, they're probably the best competitors in the NBA. Ultimately, the track record proves it. But I meant in terms of relative,
between
Jay,
the Suns.
not
Okay.
between the Suns and what they needed to prove compared to the defending NBA champions.
Yeah, the Suns. Yeah, I agree. The Suns definitely had a lot to prove coming into that game, just coming into this season. But all right, Jay, let me get to this game that happened on Thursday, the 27th. That was the Mavs and the Nets. The Mavs beat the Nets 129-125 in one period of overtime. And I think, Jay, like I was mentioning earlier about Ben Simmons, the world is finally realizing Ben Simmons at his absolute best is a role player. He's a role player at his absolute best. And every Nets game that I watch, Jay, only confirms this. Every Nets game that I watched so far this season, Jay, only confirms that the Nets are not serious contenders. They rely solely on KD and Kyrie to create not like most of their offense. No, all of their offense. They just simply aren't deep enough. They just simply aren't deep enough. They're extremely top heavy. I talked about this in the preseason predictions. And then defense, they're just too small. Claxton, Simmons, and I'm going to need your help, Jay, on the name, but Wada Yamba, how's that you say, Jay?
Yuta Watanabe, yeah.
Thank you, Jay. Exactly. So they're just not going to get it done as far as bigs in the East. I know. I also noticed that, especially that game, sometimes the Nets seem to be running KD a little bit at that 4-5. Sometimes they mix them up with Claxton or Simmons. But in my opinion, if you put KD at a 4 or 5, like that's just too taxing on his body for an 82 game season. And then, for the game, so far as talk about a little bit of the game, Luka started off with 13 points in that first quarter. Also was big because he helped JaVale get 8 points in that first quarter. He assisted all of JaVale's points in that first. And this game was close, very close and fun game. But at the end of the day, I think that the Nets stayed in this, and this was a nail-biting game. 13 lead changes, but they stayed in this by the heroic performance of KD and Kyrie Irving. KD scored 37 points on 12 of 21, and Kyrie scored 39 points on 14 of 31. That means Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant took more than half of these shots. And I get it, that's Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but you cannot tell me that that's a winning recipe against an actually good team, against a Bucks, against the reigning champion like the Warriors, against good teams that can go deep. This is not a serious lineup. So that's why I, again, just harp on the fact that Nets are not serious. The Mavs, on the other end, great team ball, 27 team assists. Their other guys shot 50% from the three-point line. Luka had his third career 40-point triple-double. Shout out Luka. I got him on my fantasy. Maybe the greatest decision I've made next to giving my life to Christ. Luka had 41 points, 11 rebounds, 14 assists. This is insane, Jay. Shout out Luka. I have nothing else to say besides this game, besides the Nets are embarrassing, and Luka Doncic might be the best player in the NBA right now.
Can't agree with you on the Nets. Can't agree. I got to see more from them. I got to see more. And I will say this: the Mavericks aren't sustainable. We saw what happened to them in the Western Conference Finals. Yes, great in the regular season, heavily reliant on Luka Doncic, but that you need more. Their supporting cast just won't get it done, and we're going to see that in the playoffs. They're one Luka injury away from just ultimately collapsing into a bad team. Who's your next? Who's your number one option? Christian Wood, a guy who wasn't even able to play, wasn't on the floor at the end of the game yesterday, Jay. You didn't mention that. He wasn't on the floor. He wasn't able. Jason Kidd was not able to keep him on the floor because he was played off the floor by Brooklyn. Their small ball lineup. They had to adapt to that. You forgot to mention that. A lot of teams, yes, Brooklyn can't play. They might get bullied and bodied on the glass, but a lot of teams have to adapt to the small ball lineup of Brooklyn. That's going to come in handy to them. And they're missing two key role players right now, Jay. Let's not forget that. Seth Curry, huge part of what they do, huge role player for them. He can create a shot as well. Not as good as Kyrie Irving and KD, but they can get some offense from Seth Curry. And also Joe Harris, when he's back, he's healthy. They're working him into it. He's a huge part of what they do, Jay. So they do have a little more depth, 2 players to be exact, to add to that rotation. So I can't sleep and jump to conclusions about the Nets here in the first 5 games of the season.
All right, Jay. Yeah, Jay. We
What are they? 1-4, 1-3 right now?
Yeah, they're 1-4 right now. we're just on two different spectrums of the poll here, Jay. But that's for the family out there. Let us know what's up. What side of the spectrum are you on? You're on my side, Jay's side. You in the middle. Let us know, man. But
rap about that Lakers Nuggets.
Talk to me, Jay.
I'll let you go to this. Talk about this because I know this one's close to home.
Jay. Lakers on Wednesday lost to the Nuggets 110-99. Just first thing I noticed on this game, Jay, was that deservingly so. The Lakers overly paid attention to Jokic. It basically allowed anybody else to get theirs, and that's where Bruce Brown ended up with 16 points in that first half. But shout out to the Lakers though, because they did make the adjustments. Because at the end of the game, he just finished with 18 points, so that means he scored 2 points for that entire second half because the Lakers did make the adjustments. And then, I noticed this isn't something that I'm not a genius for saying this. We've all been saying this, but when the Lakers run now LeBron and Anthony Davis pick and rolls and just surround them with shooters, like they are so good and they are so deadly. I don't understand how this isn't like perfectly clear to Darvin Ham and Rob Pelinka that like this is clearly the method that's worked. History repeats itself. LeBron's always won, and he's been at his greatest when he has shooters around him. So I don't know how this is like how this roster just still continue to be constructed with non-shooters around LeBron, especially Russell Westbrook, him being on the roster. Lakers just looked a lot more fluid just with him not being out there. I do hear that he's coming off the bench tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that will be hopefully a good experiment for everyone so we can realize that that's his position. And honestly, Jay, similar to that Warriors game, this game was close up until that third quarter. In that third quarter, just how the Suns went on a run, the Nuggets went on a run. The Nuggets ended up scoring 32 points in that third quarter to the Lakers 17. The Lakers allowed for 15 points, Jay, 15 fast break points out of the Nuggets, 34 points just in that third quarter. The Lakers didn't take care of the ball. And after digging yourself into a hole like that, it was just too much to get out of. The Lakers tried. They had that good run in the fourth quarter, 10-0 run, bring within single digits. But then the Nuggets just put Jokic back in the game. He finished it off for them. And that brought the Lakers to, I believe that's 0-4, now 0-5, winless, sitting here. A week into the league. But how'd you feel about that game, Jay?
Yeah. Number one, let's call it what it is. Lakers are a bad basketball team as they currently are constructed. And I don't see it getting any better until they move Russell Westbrook. Jay, you talked about before, and I had said until he's not on this roster, they're not going to be a good basketball team. Maybe even if he's not on this roster,
you're tripping, Jay. LeBron and Anthony Davis and
maybe they won't be.
Come on, Jay.
But the sad thing is right now, and what I saw in this game is for a while, absolutely, Anthony Davis was a better player than Nikola Jokic. But now I look at the two, and I look at Nikola Jokic, and I look at Anthony Davis, and I look at that performance on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, whenever the game was. And Nikola Jokic is so much better than Anthony Davis right now. Clear. It's crazy. It's clear. It's so much clear. And Jay, let me finish my point. For LeBron, for the Lakers to be any good the way that they're currently constructed, even if you bring in role players, Anthony Davis and LeBron James have to be top 10 players, and Anthony Davis is not playing anywhere close to a top 10 player right now. LeBron is playing like a top 10 player until that effort, that piss poor lackadaisical effort that I saw on Wednesday night when they played the Nuggets. He looked disinterested, and I don't blame him. The roster construction around him is terrible. The Lakers are looking like a joke organization right now because of, I talked about it before in the beginning of the season, how I didn't think they had enough shooters, and they still have the same issues and they still haven't addressed it. So every one of their faults, and we can't blame it on the scapegoat who has been Russell Westbrook for the past however long he's been in part of that organization, because he didn't play against the Nuggets. So it's clear now that they have a bad. It's clear now.
The best game.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, they had it, and they still shot a terrible percentage. So
they're not shooters.
And you can't win basketball games. How do you win a basketball game?
So explain me how you expect the Nets.
How do you win a basketball game? You win by putting the ball in the hoop.
Yes,
and the Lakers can't do it.
And guess what, my brother? The shooting isn't the only way to do it. The people are not going to keep up with the Lakers if they be are the trees that they are. If they go inside, Jay, let's be real. You've said it yourself. With LeBron and Anthony Davis on this team, and you just take off Russell Westbrook and you have shooters, this team is competitive. Jay, you said it. You put the great Jay, you've said it yourself.
Competitive what? Competitive in what? I said yes. They're
a deep playoff team. They're a deep playoff team with LeBron and Anthony Davis playing at their best.
They're not.
And you take off Russell Westbrook. Jay,
yes, playing at their best, which Anthony Davis is playing nowhere near to where his best.
Yes, agreed. But they're going.
I'm waiting. And the Lakers organization is waiting on Anthony Davis to play anywhere close to his best.
Yes,
and that's what I'm saying. The gap between Nikola Jokic and Anthony Davis has widened so far. It's actually a joke, and Anthony Davis should be embarrassed. Nikola
Jokic is also better than 499% of the players in the NBA, Jay. So I don't understand what kind of point that even is. Nikola Jokic might be the best player in the NBA. So what point is that? Like,
he's not the best player in the NBA. He's not the best player, but I will say that's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay, but
I will say this.
What's that?
I will say this. And I've been there. The gap between in the Western Conference Finals when Anthony Davis was the best player, let's call it what it is, on that team, they don't win. They don't get past Denver. LeBron wasn't that great in that series against Denver. It was Anthony Davis who led them to the NBA Finals. He was the biggest reason why they got past them. I'm talking about that gap. That gap between Nikola Jokic then and Anthony Davis bubble Anthony Davis, he hasn't been the same player since the bubble, Jay. That's a fact. Okay, statistically, that's a fact. On the court, that's been a fact. His health has been a fact. Listen, that's not let me explain my point. I'm saying I said for the Lakers to be any good, they have a poor roster construction around them. They're a bad basketball team. And what I'm saying is Anthony Davis hasn't been on the same level. Or excuse me. Not even that he hasn't been on the same level, because he hasn't been on the same level since he's been in the bubble. But for him, for the Lakers, and the whole reason that I had him at the 7th seed and why they could potentially be better is for LeBron to play at the level. Obviously, he wasn't himself. He didn't play as to the level that we've seen the first 3 games of the season from LeBron, and what he showed last year of being a top 10, top 5 caliber player in the NBA. Still to this day at 37, 38. Him being that, and then Anthony Davis being a top 10 player. And I'm saying right now, he's nowhere near to that. Is he going to be in this sometime this season? He could be, but if he's not that, the Lakers are going nowhere fast, and they could continue to be poor. And that's what I'm saying, Jay.
I agree with that point. Yeah. For the Lakers to go, Anthony Davis has to go. So I do agree with that. Yeah. I mean, it's a sad situation for LeBron, because I mean, LeBron's at 37, dude, pulling tricks out of his butt. And now we got Anthony Davis, like supposed to be in his prime, in his NBA prime, and, not showing up. So yeah, I'm definitely right there with you. Yeah. The Lakers will not be able to be contenders or anything that anyone thought if Anthony Davis is not at his best. I mean, AD goes, Lakers go, man. So yeah, right there with you for that, Jay. But all right, man. All right. So we got to see though. Maybe the Lakers get their first win tonight. It's Friday, October 28th. So hopefully they'll get one tonight against the Timberwolves. But all right, Jay. I think it's a good place for us to go ahead and wrap it up, Jay. Recapped a whole lot of stuff. Talked about a whole lot of stuff. We introduced, some videos, that, for the family out there, stay tuned, because, we got more content like this coming, interactive video contents and all of that. So, Jay, you got any last words to say before we jet out of here?
Yeah, stay tuned, y'all. And stay tuned on this video will be coming out on Saturday. But stay tuned for tomorrow on our live and also on our stories, because I will be live at the Detroit Pistons and Golden State Warriors game, my Golden State Warriors game. So stay tuned for that. I'll be in the building with my boy Oko and giving y'all some live content, player warmups, maybe some player interviews. So stay tuned for that, y'all.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Y'all heard that boy Jay Hill. He, you know what I'm saying? He going to the game, man. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. But yeah, man, like Jay said, stay tuned. Don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Man, if it's out there, we out there. So just look up Clutch Talk Pod. You're going to find it. But if that's it, then we out of here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.
Peace.